What does being bold mean? I'm just a cop. So I had to use the Google. To make sure that I was on track with the definition of the word bold. But bold is confidence. It's courage. The ability to take risks. A fearless, daring spirit. I don't know if any of that really describes me back in 1985 when I was a baby deputy. Wow, I was skinnier. But when I first started 34 years ago and had my .357 revolver inspected at my graduation ceremony, we were called the King County Police Department, or the Department of Public Safety for King County. Several years later, I was promoted to sergeant, and it was one of the proudest moments of my life, and to have my mom and dad there to pin on my badge. Probably should have let Mom do it. She had more experience with pinning things on me. It took him a little bit, but he got it, and it was as important to them as it was to me. You know, it kind of breaks my heart now that they're both gone, and Dad couldn't pin on my sheriff's badge when this happened. Sorry, I got going backwards. There we go. When this happened a year ago. But in a way, they were there because their love and their commitment to their family. And if they were here today, I would say they were bold parents ahead of their time. It was okay for them, for me to be a tomboy and to grow up playing with my brother's six-shooters instead of dolls. It also might have been a clue to them. Just saying. So they always encouraged me to be me. And whatever that meant, they were behind me, behind my siblings. And when I signed up to be a cop 34 years ago, I didn't see it as a bold move. I saw it as somebody with a bad haircut and sunglasses driving a 1990 Chevy Caprice. But anyway, I just wanted to be a person that had a heart of service and to serve and to make our communities safe. It wasn't easy entering a male-dominated profession. Law enforcement is still that way to some degree, although the girls are taking over. So, as a member of a couple protected classes, and you can probably maybe guess which one now, but the LGBT community didn't have protections back when I started. And you very sadly had to, at times, hide your private life. And it just may have not have held well for your career, your desires of what you wanted to do in law enforcement. I was the first female deputy to work the overnight patrol in North Bend. That was a big deal in 1987. I mean, 97. You know, your backup wasn't 2 minutes away. It wasn't like being in a city. You had to be able to take care of yourself. You had to, you know, be able to talk. You had to be bold in your own way, to stand in yourself and into who you were and have presence. That presence that so many of you have and so many of us work on a daily basis to maintain. So as I moved up in the ranks, I got to do a lot of really cool things. I got to be the first captain to oversee our canine unit and the first woman ever to run our SWAT team. There was a lot of things that I got to do that would push me out of my comfort zone, like running for sheriff. You know, when a group of department members came to me and asked me to run, I wasn't really thinking along those lines. I wasn't a career politician. I never saw myself running for sheriff. It wasn't a career goal. But I decided that it was really important at that time. And as the message today, it was a time to be bold. It was a time to step up. It was a time to run against an incumbent, and a time as a woman in particular to help restore trust and confidence in law enforcement. I and others in the law enforcement field, you know, have had to fight through some challenges. The introvert in me, those introverts in the audience may know it takes a while to recharge your batteries, and so I do that by having some alone time. Some days I shut the door to my office so that I can think about decisions I have to make and making sure that we're doing the right things in the community and that we are staying on the cutting edge of law enforcement. We're looking out in front of it to stay in front, to be better servants in our community. So when I do that, my chief of staff has named it Garbage Can Day. So I like having my garbage cans emptied, but when I'm in lockdown, I have to put the garbage can outside the door to my office to make sure that's emptied. And so I could go on, and I won't bore you with more details, but there are things we have to overcome in ourselves to be inspired, to come and talk to a room full of amazing humans, and to every day get the opportunity to lead 1,200 people in the King County Sheriff's Department and to help them be good servants. And I share this story with you because it's really important that we all learn to overcome and rise above, even when we're having the baddest day. To take those risks, to run when running against an incumbent is really hard, running against the guy who promoted you to be the precinct major, running against the guy who, if you lost, had potentially, would at the very least demote you, and at the very worst, might fire you. So that didn't happen. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all the voters out there. Along the way, I learned a lot about leadership. It isn't about always taking credit. It's not. It's about encouraging others to be their best selves, to be bold, to take risks. Because giving that credit away is an amazing tool to have in your arsenal because it will pay you back hundredfold. I may be the public face of the King County Sheriff's Office, but every day there are women out there doing incredible work that most never see. A recent, bold, fearless risk was taken by one of our deputies. Her name is Deputy Jennifer Esham, and she was recently highlighted on King 5, and I'd like to share that with you now.
What do you think it's going to be like versus what it is when you get out? Trust me.
More than half of my life I've been locked up. We are kind of polar opposites of the criminal justice system. I got possession of stolen property. I stole a car, possession with intent to deliver methamphetamines.
I've been a police officer for 12 years.
I made a bomb threat.
If somebody wants to stay out of prison, they will.
Possession of a firearm in the second degree.
It's so easy. Just stop committing crimes.
I felt like my destiny was to die like my dad did in prison.
Why would I want to invite somebody like that into my life?
I just felt like I never felt safe with the cops.
A woman who, in my everyday life, I would probably avoid. What I realized was I couldn't have been more wrong. I've been mentoring Candace for about 3 years. She knows about this side of me and this work I do, but she's never actually seen it in person.
The old Candace Benefield
Hey! You made it!
wouldn't have shown up.
Oh, so good to see you!
She wouldn't dare parade around with King County Deputy Jennifer Esham, let alone in public.
Like that marriage discount, you know?
You look at stuff as an enemy for so long, you never think that you're ever gonna look for safety there.
Most of us never give our enemies the chance to change us. When we started following this pair more than a year ago,
Now-
Esham was a Seattle police officer, teaching recruits at Washington State's Police Academy,
Call 911 about that?
and at the same time teaching Benefield
You used to have to pay like security deposit first.
how to live uncuffed. But when they met in 2016, this officer had her own lessons to learn.
I had never sat down and tried to have a personal interaction with a convicted felon before.
I was in prison at that time for robbery. I really always felt like everyone in my life was temporary. I joined this program called the IF Project.
It's a nonprofit that helps women in this prison reintegrate into everyday life.
And it was going to be a very black and white mentorship. I'm here to provide her with support.
I was like, they paired me up with a cop, like this is stupid. Like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna talk about?
I never planned to actually enjoy my time with her.
In fact, she planned to hide everything about her life.
I took my wedding ring off. I wasn't gonna say anything about being married or having a family.
That was before they met.
What I learned about Candace really quickly is that she's incredibly organized. She's very motivated. My idea was, how did this woman ever end up in prison? Because she seems to have such a straight head on her shoulders.
The first time I ever got locked up, I was 8 years old. I got in trouble for assaulting a girl at the playground. I was being sexually abused from like the time I was 6 to I was 8 by my mother's boyfriend. My mom didn't really want to have anything to do with me. When I first hit that girl, when I first got in trouble, was the first time I got taken from my home, and it was the first time I felt safe to sleep at night, even though I didn't even know where I was and I was around a whole bunch of strangers. A lot of times when I ran away from home and stuff like that, the cops were who always brought me back home, and nobody listened to me. Prison and being locked up was what I knew. The consistency of where I was what kept me safe.
I had really no understanding of how difficult it is for somebody to break their own personal cycle of incarceration.
Out here, I just feel like people can sneak up on you.
The people we don't see coming sometimes teach us the most.
We found that we could trust each other and talk to each other and really open up about our misconceptions that we had about each other. So I was really surprised with how much more we had in common than I thought.
We would talk through emails.
She writes, I really used to feel like I would always be looked at like one of those spoiled apples, but people like you helped me to realize that I'm much more and that people do care.
Benefield walked out of prison in 2017 to find the officer waiting.
You might have noticed Jennifer in two different uniforms, Seattle Police Department uniform and King County Sheriff's Deputy's uniform. Don't tell Chief Best. But rumor has it, I stole her from the SPD. It's an incredible story, and I am so proud to introduce you to Deputy Jennifer Esham.
Good evening. Listen, before I could do something bold and daring, like spend the last 3 years with my mentee Candace, I had to accept something that's really, really scary for a cop, that I was vulnerable. I was vulnerable to failure, disappointment, and even heartache. I felt like it was risky and scary because I could have failed. But if I wasn't willing to be bold and to be vulnerable to all the risks, I would not have grown like I did, and Candace may not have succeeded like she did. I encourage every one of you to be vulnerable and open yourself to risk, whether it's helping another human being or taking a bold step in your career or starting a new career. The reward will far outweigh the discomfort of taking that risk, guaranteed. But I think it's fair to say, and we can all agree, that no one took a bigger risk than Candace Benefield. At 36, she learned to live in a world that the rest of us often take for granted. And I'm happy to tell you that she is succeeding. Ladies of the room, I'd like to introduce you to my very good friend, Candace Benefield. So here we are, three women at very different stages in our lives and in our careers, but each one of us has found success in our own way and on our own terms by being bold and taking risks. There isn't one of you in this room who cannot do the same. Thank you so much for allowing us to be part of this awesome event.